Hello, fourth graders. I would like to, I'm going to be doing a little lesson today for your Tuesday reading assignment. And in the next module, what's going to be a skill that's going to be coming up, a skill that good readers need to have, and maybe something you have not learned about before, I'm not sure. But one thing you're going to be learning about is something called theme. So what a theme is in a story, the theme in essence is the message of the lesson that the author wants you to take away from the story. So it's kind of like the message that you can apply to your own life. So you might ask yourself, what did the characters learn in the story and how did the characters grow? So common themes might be courage or honesty, love, friendship, forgiveness, all these different things, hard work, teamwork. So really when you are asked to share the theme about a text that you've read, once again, it's just a lesson. What does the author want you to take away from the story? Okay, so that is what we're going to be talking about this week. And like I said, it's a good skill that readers need to have in order to better understand the text that they're reading. So what I thought I would do is share with you one of my favorite books, which is called The Invisible Boy. And this is written by Trudy Ludwig. The reason I chose this book is one, it definitely lends to us learning about theme and what did the author want the reader to take away from the story. It's got a lot of inferring that you might need to do as well. So I'm just going to share this book with you, and I want you just to be thinking as the story is going along, what do you think the theme of the story is? What did it leave you with at the end of the story? How did the little boy Brian grow and change as the story progressed? So here is The Invisible Boy. And I want you to also pay attention to, while I'm reading it, how the illustrations change, okay, with how Brian and the other characters are acting and feeling and thinking. All right, so The Invisible Boy. Here we go. Can you see Brian, the invisible boy? Even Mrs. Carlotti has trouble noticing him in her classroom. She's too busy dealing with Nathan and Sophie. Nathan has problems with what Mrs. Carlotti calls volume control. He uses his outside voice inside too much. Sophie whines and complains when she doesn't get her way. Nathan and Sophie take up a lot of space. Brian doesn't. Just by looking at his body language, how can you infer he's feeling right now? When the bell rings for recess, Micah and JT take turns choosing kids for their kickball team. The best players get picked first, then the best friends of the best players, then the friends of the best friends. Only Brian is left, still waiting and hoping. JT glances in Brian's direction and just as quickly looks away. We've got enough players for each team, he tells the others. Let's play ball. Once again, look at his body language. He hasn't said anything yet. In the cafeteria, Madison and her friends talk about her birthday party. The rope swing over the pool was awesome, said JT. Yeah, so was the water slide, said Fiona. That was the best pool party ever. I'm so glad you guys had fun, said Madison. Everybody did except Brian. He wasn't invited. So I wonder if you've ever been in a situation like this before. Do you think it was the intent of the group to exclude Brian? I'm not really sure it was purposeful, but still, he's probably feeling, how maybe, left out? He's just kind of watching, right? At choosing time, while the other kids played board games and read, Brian sits at his table doing what he loves to do best. He draws fire-breathing dragons scaling tall buildings. Thank you for toasting my marshmallows. Space aliens locked in intergalactic battles. Greedy pirates digging for treasure. And superheroes with the power to make friends wherever they go. Hi, friend, have a cookie. So we know that Brian likes to draw, and that's something that he enjoys doing on his own. On Monday morning, Mrs. Carlotti introduces Justin, a new student to the class. Brian smiles shyly at him. Some of the other kids sneak looks at Justin, trying to figure out if he's cool enough to be their friend. They haven't quite made up their minds yet. I see Brian smiling. At lunch, Madison and JT watch Justin eat with chopsticks. What's that? Asks Madison as she points at Justin's food. It's bulgogi. What? Bulgogi. It's Korean barbecue beef. My grandma made it for me. It's really good. Do you want to try some? There's no way I'd eat boogergi. The kids just laugh, and all of them, that is, except Brian. He sits there wondering which is worse, being laughed at or feeling invisible. Okay, I want you to think about that. The author chooses to use the word invisible. What does that mean to you? He's not truly invisible. We can see him, right? But he's feeling invisible. What does that mean? It's just kind of a thinker question for you. Have you ever felt invisible? Like nobody's really seeing you or hearing you or thinking about your thoughts or feelings? The next day, when Justin goes to his cubby to put away his backpack, he notices a piece of paper with his name on it. Justin, I thought the bulgogi looked good. Brian. What a nice random act of kindness that was. At morning recess, Brian finds a piece of chalk on the ground and starts drawing away. You're Brian, right? Yeah, thanks for the note. Hey, Justin, Emilio calls out from the tetherball court. You're up next. Sorry, gotta go, says Justin. By the way, that's a really cool drawing, he adds before taking off. When I think about the interaction between those two, they were kind of filling each other's buckets up, weren't they? Using those kind words and actions to make that person's day better. Back in class, Mrs. Carlotti asked the kids to team up in 2s or 3s for a special project. The kids scurry around the room to pair off. Brian heads towards Justin. I'm already with Justin, said Emilio. Find someone else. Brian looks at the floor, wishing he could draw a hole right there to swallow him up. Thinking about the words and the thoughts, how can you infer he's feeling if those are the kinds of things that are going through his head? Mrs. Carlotti said we can have up to 3 people in our group. We're only 2. Come on, Emilio, let him work with us. Okay, I guess. Mrs. Carlotti gives the class directions for the project. Your assignment is to work together to write a story about what you see in the photograph. Use your imagination and have fun. Whoa, cool, said Emilio. What kind of people do you think would live in houses like that? I don't know, but I bet Brian could draw them to go with our story, says Justin. Brian smiles as he takes out his lucky pen. And they're busy at work, writing a little script. Do you notice how the illustrations have changed, boys and girls, since the beginning? So if I go back here, look at Brian here, and now look at Brian here. He's growing and he's changing. It's lunchtime again, Brian's least favorite part of the day. Another 20 long minutes of kids talking and laughing with everyone else but him. Brian, he hears someone shout. Hey, Brian, over here. Brian turns and sees Justin waving him over. Emilio nods at Brian as he makes room for him at the table. Well, that's a change, right? Maybe, just maybe, Brian's not so invisible after all. So, what do you think the theme of this story is? What do you think Trudy Ludwig wanted the reader to come away with in the story? Okay, so when we're thinking about excluding people or you're leaving people out and how that makes other people feel, right? So I think as a reader, you get to decide what you think the theme is and what you took away from it, but the author sometimes does have a main purpose. And for this one, Trudy Ludwig, we know that excluding people and leaving them out of things does hurt their feelings, and how we can include them and show kindness and how that really builds that person up and how important that is. So that would be the theme of that story. So what your job is today, I'm going to go ahead and pull this up for you. So give me just 1 second here, friends. I'm just going to scooch off of here Oops, excuse me. Miss Foley needs to get back on here. All right, I'm going to share my screen with you. So this is your job today for reading. So you've watched my video, obviously. All right, so here is your job. Listen to my read aloud, which you did, The Invisible Boy, and my lesson on the story element theme. On your own, you're going to click on here to read Learning on the Soccer Field. So I'm going to open that up. Your job is to be reading this short story, Learning on the Soccer Field. It's about a page and a half. All right. So we're going to click off of there. You're going to read that story. Then on a sheet of notebook paper, you're going to label it Learning on the Soccer Field. And I'm going to show you what your notebook paper should look like. Because you're going to have to do these kinds of things later throughout the year with me. So it's a good idea for you to get in the habit of learning how to label your paper when you submit assignments. So it says on a sheet of notebook paper, you want to label that Learning on the Soccer Field. So I'm just going to write at the way top, Learning on the Soccer Field. Oh, whoop. Miss Willie definitely wants to put her name in there, and I'm not sure you can really see this. So let me scooch over just, let's see if I can go back. And I'll pull it in a little bit when I'm done. So you definitely want to put your title on. I have to have my name at the top, Miss Woolley. So this is in your notebook, boys and girls, a notebook that you have. All right, Learning on the Soccer Field. Then it says, respond to the 2 questions below in a complete sentence. For example, okay, so Felipe's feelings changed in the story by. So here's your job. You're going to choose one of these to respond to that question. So your paper would look like this. Number 1, Felipe's feelings, and then it says changed, and you're going to rewrite, you're going to restate the question. Felipe's feelings changed in the story, and then you're going to choose one of these answers down here to complete your sentence. So on my paper right now, I hope you can see this. It says, Felipe's feelings changed in the story, and then you're going to respond with whatever sentence right here would fit. Okay, so question number 2. What is the theme of the story? So you're going to respond to the question like this. Number 2, I'm going to write the theme of the story, and then you're going to choose which theme here, which theme here, boys and girls, would fit the story. Okay, what is the theme of the story? You're writing the theme of the story is living somewhere where warm weather is fun. So you have to read that story first, and then you're going to respond with that. That's all you need to do, boys and girls. So once again, you're reading this and you're responding to these 2 questions in your notebook. All right. So let me just hop off of here. So once again, this is what your notebook should look like. I'm going to hop out of here so it's a little bit, there we go. So Learning on the Soccer Field, that's your title. Question 1, Felipe's feelings changed in the story. You're going to respond to that. Question 2, the theme of the story. So now you're done with your work. You've read your story. You've responded to the questions. And so it says right here, take a picture of your work and submit it into Buzz. When you go into Buzz, you're going to see Module 01.05 worksheet, theme, Learning on the Soccer Field. That's where you're going to upload your photo of your work. You're going to be doing this again later in the week, so this is good practice for you. All right, so hopefully you are clear on what your job is today, and we will come back together on Monday. So have a great, oh, not Monday, excuse me, Wednesday. Sorry, this was for Tuesday's lesson. I apologize for that. So learning all about theme, and just to kind of review, what is theme again if somebody asks you? The theme is the message or the lesson that the author wants you to take away from the story. All right.